Hello everyone, Alan Sens here, and welcome to this segment on nuclear arms races, South Asia. In this video, we are going to look at the nuclear arms race in South Asia, and we're also going to look at the issue of the stability of the nuclear balance between India and Pakistan, two nuclear armed states. So let's get started. By the time we're done, you should be able to describe the nuclear arms race in South Asia, and you should also be able to describe one possible scenario that might actually lead to a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. First, let's just take a quick look at the neighborhood. Obviously, it's an extremely volatile neighborhood. There's a lot going on here. The so-called Great Game in Asia is in full swing. The relationship between India and Pakistan itself, of course, is fraught because India and Pakistan have fought three wars, actually, and also continue to find themselves in repeated border incidents where tensions can increase dramatically. And of course, that's exactly what you don't want between two nuclear-armed countries. In addition, both countries still dispute control over the Jammu and Kashmir region up here in the north. And so there is a lot of concern that the ongoing political tensions between the two countries could escalate to a war, and that in turn could escalate to a nuclear war. There's also a lot of concern that error or miscalculation could lead both countries into a conflict and even a nuclear conflict without there being any intent to actually do so. In addition to that, there are wider patterns to the environment. Of course, Afghanistan, the ongoing conflict in Afghanistan is right here. And of course, Pakistan and the United States, which are nominally allies, have often fallen into conflict over Pakistani policy inside Afghanistan. Both countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, are right next door to Iran. And obviously, the ongoing concerns about Iran are also part of this so-called Great Game in Asia and Central Asia in particular. China is a nominal ally of Pakistan and in fact has been assisting Pakistan in the development of its nuclear weapons capability and also its delivery system capability. And Russia, in turn, has also been an ally of and a supporter of India. So there's a real tangle here in the entire region, and that just exacerbates the risk that something could go very horribly wrong in the region between two nuclear-armed states. And of course, when you have China and Russia involved as well, that complicates matters even further. So volatile neighborhood, that's kind of the main overall contextual point to be made here. Okay, let's just take a quick reminder about the state of the Indian nuclear arsenal, its delivery systems. We think about 135 warheads with modernization, force size increases underway. No ICBMs, but a significant number of medium-range and short-range ballistic missiles. We're unclear about whether they have aircraft delivery systems. And we do know that India has ballistic missile submarines. So overall then, an arsenal that is increasing in capability. This chart is interesting. It sort of gives us a little bit of an insight into the capability of the Indian nuclear arsenal, but also a sense about how these systems have improved over time. You can see that the ranges have gone further and further as delivery system development has kind of increased. The country now has developed some missile capabilities of quite long range. And you can see here that much of, in fact, all of Pakistan here is well within range of all of India's ballistic missile capabilities. And so that obviously is part of the picture when we look at strategic nuclear stability between the two countries. But what's interesting about this chart is also shows that India's nuclear missile capabilities actually has quite a long range. They are capable of hitting targets throughout most of Russia and China as well. And so there's another dynamic there that is of concern to many people who watch this part of the world. Down below here, you can see all the missile systems, the Agni systems that India possesses, in a succession of them, each representing increases in capability and in range. Just zooming in on one example, this is the Agni 3. You can see the weight there, the payload. It is a two-stage solid propellant rocket motor. That's significant because solid propellant is just taken to be a more advanced, more effective, and safer propellant. The range, 3,500 to 5,000 kilometers, so quite a long range. And the guidance is inertial and with global positioning system. Possibly has terminal guidance via radar, we're not sure. But this is a very capable missile system and is regarded very much as the backbone of the Indian ballistic missile capability. Okay, let's take a quick look at Pakistan. Their arsenal is believed to have about 145 warheads. Again, a modernization and force size increase is underway, part of that arms race dynamic. No ICBMs, but about 60 or more medium-range and short-range ballistic missiles. We believe some bombers and aircraft capable of carrying nuclear warheads, and no ballistic missile submarines at this time. There's also, both countries, India and Pakistan, are known to be developing their cruise missile technology, so that adds just another layer to the delivery system capacities of both countries. Similarly, let's take a look at the Pakistani ballistic missile capability. You can see again the development kind of stretching through time here. The Ghauri and Shaheen designs. There's the Ghauri there, and these are the Shaheen models as they continually develop. And you can see that the range of Pakistan's nuclear missiles bring virtually all of India well into range, as well as parts of China, Central Asia, and the Middle East, and parts of Russia. So not quite as long a range capacity as the Indian nuclear arsenal, but nevertheless, the Pakistan's ballistic missile capability is quite advanced. So again, an important part of the dynamic of the nuclear relationship between these two countries. And just an example of one of their missile systems. We don't have time to look at them all. Here you can see the weight, the payload. This is a single-stage solid propellant rocket motor. The Ghauris are a single-stage missile. Range 1,500 to 1,800 kilometers, and a guidance system based on inertial guidance and on GPS. So again, a reliable, effective delivery system. So this brings us to the big question about how these delivery systems present the very real threat of a nuclear war between India and Pakistan, either by intent, one side is somehow motivated to attack the other, or by miscalculation or by accident. So I'm just going to draw the two countries here. So we'll call this Pakistan, and of course they have a common border, right? So here's India. So this is Pakistan here. Here is India. And the prevailing view about how a nuclear war might start between India and Pakistan involves the escalation of a border dispute or an outright military attack by one side against the other. It's understood that India has more capable conventional military forces than Pakistan does. Pakistan may be relying more on its nuclear arsenal as a deterrent to an Indian attack. But the concern is that one side or the other may attack the other country. And this, again, could be because of an intent, or it could be because of the escalation of a border dispute in which the armed forces of both sides found themselves shooting at each other. And the concern is that one side or the other would feel it was losing, and that country, let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm not judging here or not providing any sense of what I think is going to happen, but let's just say for the sake of argument that Pakistan decides to use nuclear weapons in an attempt to defeat the Indian military in this border dispute or this conventional military conflict. That would then, it is argued, compel India to do the same. Pakistan would then respond to that attack with a much broader attack against India and Indian cities and Indian military sites. India would retaliate, and we would get this escalation dynamic. Not dissimilar, then, to fears of how a nuclear war might break out between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, or between the United States and Russia today. It's the same kind of dynamic. And remember, this could happen largely because of miscalculation and an accident rather than true intent. So these missiles, these delivery systems, they matter because they give both India and Pakistan the ability to actually do this, to actually strike back at each other, and within very short periods of time. The flight time between Islamabad and New Delhi is somewhere on the order of 7 to 10 minutes. So there's just not a lot of time, right, for crisis management. There's tremendous pressure, and so there's great concern that in a crisis, the decision makers in Pakistan and or India may both find themselves in very pressure-packed situations in which they struggled for clarity of information, and that might lead them to take decisions that were ultimately extremely dangerous. So this is sort of a microcosm of the larger concern about nuclear weapons and the danger of nuclear war, in this case, in South Asia. Okay, so now you should be able to describe the basics of the nuclear arms race in South Asia, and you should be able to describe how a nuclear war might start between India and Pakistan. Okay, well, obviously a huge concern. In addition to so many other issues related to nuclear weapons around the world, the worry about a nuclear war in South Asia is one that has endured for decades and is one of the major pieces that motivates arms control and attempts to find diplomatic solutions to conflicts to prevent the use of nuclear weapons in a future war. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you soon.